So we are at Good Friday, a difficult day for some, and it's noticeable that often people don't put the kudos on this that they do on Easter Sunday, and yet it really, you can't have Easter Sunday without Good Friday. But I want to just unpack a little bit of the idea of the words Good Friday, which Peter touched on yesterday. So Peter, say what you were thinking about good and bad in connection with this.
As we all know, on Good Friday, Jesus was crucified, and in many ways that was bad. It was bad for him. It was bad that he suffered the pain, and then you could also say he suffered spiritually, took on everyone's sins, enabled salvation for everyone. And so it's bad in many ways, because dying on a cross is bad, but it's called Good Friday, I presume, because it's good for all the Christians who get saved by this sacrifice. So it's good and bad at the same time. So that's the dilemma, whether we call it bad or Good Friday for this episode.
Brilliant. Thank you, Peter. He's written, basically what I've got down as some notes on commenting on this are ones that I've always grappled with, and I think he's pretty much on the money with this, that in lots of ways you should call it Bad Friday. It was very, very bad for Jesus in terms of his humanness, of all that he suffered on what is an awful means of execution. So the suffering was intense. And the other part of that that's really bad is that we caused him to have to do that, because every time in that story that we've already reflected on earlier in Lent, the Israelites kept messing up. The sort of Adams that came following from Adam were all messing up, and then he'd correct them and bring them back into some sense of holiness, and then they'd fall away again, because inherently we just keep doing that, and we're just not perfect. And so Good Friday is really about him having to deal with it for us, because we are the mess. That's the bad bit. The good bit, as Peter's already surmised, is that it was for our salvation. It was a sacrificial act for our salvation. That the good is really a good meaning holy, and that's where the church as an institution over the centuries really saw it. It was a holy day because of what Jesus did for us. The precursor to Easter Sunday, because if he hadn't died, he can't rise again, and that can't give us the message that we can rise again, that we can be eternal rather than temporal. And so there was victory over sin and death. It was the extreme goodness of God, if you like. There's a lovely song that's come out recently, a contemporary Christian song called The Goodness of God, and I think it is epitomised really by what he had to do on Good Friday. So Good Friday or Bad Friday, it's pretty awful in lots of ways, and we need to reflect on that. And I think it's quite profound that as we lead towards Easter now, that the Easter Saturday was so often the dark Saturday, because he'd died but he hadn't yet risen. There was this kind of void. So a little bit more on that tomorrow. Okay, see you tomorrow.
Thank you.